Just caught mine off of fanatics in the garden with my hands in the air. We back at it.
What's going on, everybody? You see it, I'm back, baby. Pew, 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 pew. That's right. Thank you for tuning in to SKF Weekly. You see it. I'm your man, Ron. That's my brother. And then I got my brother. Well, I'm here, baby. Let's go. Pew, 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 pew. Oh, there we go. There we go. There we go. Yes, SKF Weekly. We back, baby. Man, you know, every show is just, you know how I do. I'm just here holding it down. Oh, man. Boy, I wish I hope John's doing okay. I wish he was here, man, because we got so much stuff to talk about. I haven't been able to talk about it with my partner, man. It feels weird, but one of these days, you never know. One of these days he might. But anyway. Oh, no. Oh, man.
Yes, sir. The prodigal son comes back.
Yeah, let's go. Oh,
the prodigal son is here.
Is that really you?
I'm here in real life.
Am I
it's not
seeing
AI.
things?
It's not AI.
Oh, so that's really you. Okay. All right. But you're probably just here for today, whatever. I won't see you next week, will I? Wait, I'm going to see you next week too?
You might. Yes.
Oh, John's back, baby.
Let's go. Long overdue. Overdue.
Yeah, it is long overdue. Good to see you, my guy. It just ain't the same without me, bouncing my 1-2s off of you and you giving me your 1-2s and we make 4 and 8 and all those other numbers, man. Welcome back.
Right.
And shout out to Jose, who's back this week as well.
That's right. We got the full crew on today. Which is great, right? You know what I'm saying?
Thank you. I'm happy to be back.
There you go. Oh, we even hear the voice. Let's go.
Yes.
The microphone's on.
She goes to sleep whenever she wants to go to sleep, so I can talk right now.
That's
there
awesome.
There you go. All
we
right,
made it.
We're back, baby. Yeah. The content is about to get pushed to the next level. Maybe not today because I need more time. But now that we know that we full strength again, these Monday shows are gonna get great. Wait and see.
And shout out to you, man, for holding it down, man. You held it down for months, not just a couple of days. It's been months that you've been holding it down while we've been away doing our family thing. So shout out to you, bro.
But there is one thing that I noticed. John, when you and I were gone, look how far the Knicks got. So what does that mean for next season?
That's true. We were the jinx.
Maybe you guys had something to do with it, right? You stay away, man. I don't know. Nah, man. We good. We are primed. We ready. We ready to go next year, man. This offseason is gonna be fantastic. The Knicks are gonna do the damn thing. Since the last time we talked, John, there's no Tibbs, so it's crazy.
Yeah, no Tibbs, man. That's so wild to even think that it was gonna even be possible this year. I thought they was clearly going for like at least one more year, just to assess where the team could be, if they're gonna be at the same place that they were this year. And yeah, he's gone, so we can't even speak on it now. It's just like who's next?
Wild. It's just wild. It's so wild.
And even that's crazy, right? Even
like
what the hunting is going crazy. What they're looking for, what they're hunting for, as far as a head coach is like. So there's no real clear, definitive answer on who that coach is going to be right now. So
no, not yet. It looks like for the moment, they're still putting Mike Brown and Taylor Jenkins at the top of the list. But, I mean, right. Mike Brown and Taylor Jenkins are the only two coaches they interviewed. So, I mean, hello.
Right.
What are we talking about here? So, I mean, But I will say that I did see a whole bunch of reports coming out by that what's that guy's name, James L. Edwards or James Edwards Amos, whatever his name is. I'm just joking. James L.
Right.
Edwards from the Athletic, saying that the Knicks are considering talking to Mr. Jay Barrega. And if you guys know, if you saw the Saturday show, you saw that was my guy who I mentioned that I wouldn't mind him being the Knicks coach. So it's very interesting
Okay.
that now that, yeah, I like it. I like it.
I don't know
Barrega's
too
got
much
some
about Jay
chops.
Barrega, so I'm gonna have to look him
Yeah,
up.
well, I'll tell you, a summarized version of it is basically he coached Charlotte for 4 years, and
Okay.
you know the type of talent he had in Charlotte. Not a lot to go off of over there. And his
Right.
last season, the season where he coached most recently, I believe the record was 43-37. So he gave them,
Okay.
after 3 years of dealing with sporadic teams and sporadic rosters, his last season he actually gave them a winning record. He's a really good offensive coach. Apparently he's very good at the X's and O's of offense, and he's got some defensive chops. He was an assistant coach under Popovich for 10 years, and he's
Okay.
only 47 years
Gotcha.
old.
So he's young.
Very nice.
Okay.
So he's young.
All right.
So yeah, so we'll see. I mean, you never know. He could be a prime candidate, but Jason Kidd's name is resurfacing. So
Yeah. Yeah. You never know. I mean, I wouldn't be mad at Mike Brown, to be honest with you. I thought he did a fantastic job with the Kings. So, I'm glad they actually gave him an interview. But you never know. We'll see.
yeah, I think the only thing that might hold Mike Brown back is how the players feel about him. Because obviously, I
Mhm.
say that because the players are really the reason why Tibbs is no longer here, according to everything we know. Right? They were the ones
Yeah.
that finally put their foot down about coaching. And then Mike Brown's kind of biggest no
Holding
in
people
some set of,
accountable.
yeah, but doing it in public in press
Yeah.
conferences. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
apparently that was his big no. So I don't know.
Yeah. And
It's a
listen,
tough
man,
one.
it's a different. Uh, I think that comes with sort of this new world that we live in, right? Where people are afraid to be honest and transparent about their situation and their team. That speaks volume in like society today. You know what I mean? That people are afraid to be told, you know, they need to be held accountable. You know what I mean? That's sort of what we come from. You know what I mean? We're all about that. We're all about that transparency and honesty and being like, hey, you're not holding your side up, and of the bargain. You know what I mean? You're not holding your shit. You know what I mean? You gotta be better. I think for us, accountability was big growing up. So, our
That's what
word
we
is our
used to.
bond, right? And
Yeah.
so,
Well, that's what we
yeah.
grew up on. I don't know. Things are a little different now.
A little. Now everyone's a little bit sensitive about, you know what I mean, not being held accountable and not being called out. It's like, you know, but I think that it's not all the players. I do believe that there are players on this team that are okay with being held accountable or being called out and, putting their foot
Right.
to the fire. And the majority are probably not anymore. You know what I mean? Like the majority on this Knicks team is probably not. But I could say that I clearly believe that Brunson and Josh Hart are okay with it. Like, call us out
Yeah.
and we'll show you what we
Yeah.
got. You know what I mean? But I don't know about the rest of them.
Yeah. I mean, that's very true. And you know what? The whole thing about accountability, it's a societal thing. I
Mhm.
mean, it's in our relationships. It's our way of life. Like accountability is just something that's kind of like it's lacking everywhere. So, I mean,
Right.
that's what the Knicks need, though. They need
True.
somebody to hold the players accountable.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we'll see what they do. I don't know. But so those are guys that we already know. We know about Borrega, we know about Brown, Taylor Jenkins, Jason Kidd. Apparently, that extends to the Knicks also they are looking at other assistant coaches as well. Even though they said that they want to, they're about winning and they want, that usually dictates you having an established coach who can get you to the next level. Because, and also it goes back to the firing. Because if you felt like Tibbs, who got you to the Eastern Conference Finals, if you feel like he's not the answer and you're about winning a championship, then people would assume you want somebody established who feel confident that can get you there. And that's why a lot of people feel like Johnny Bryant is no longer really a high candidate for the job. How do you feel about Johnny Bryant these days, John?
It's interesting because he was an assistant still, right? And so he's played that role with Cleveland. And although they've probably had their best year offensively as a team, they were rated number 1, right? If I'm not mistaken, this entire season. Yeah. So offensively, but again, as an assistant, we don't know how much, just like how much that individual holds. Like how much does his role impact the day-to-day with that team? You know what I mean? There's some coaches that really rely heavily on their assistant coaches, and then there's some coaches like a Tibbs who's really, he does rely on his coaches to assist, but he's more so the lead. Is kind of like, regardless of what anyone else thinks or says, I'm gonna play my players the way I feel necessary, and I feel like gives me the best chance of winning. More of an old school mindset. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I couldn't tell you, but I wouldn't be mad at it. But I just know that the heat will be extremely high if we don't, get to where we were this year or surpass where we were this year. You know what I mean? And that's going to be the toughest thing for any coach that comes into to coach the Knicks this year. It's like, the expectations are going to be extremely high, and there isn't going to be that much there isn't going to be enough like grace, given to any coach that takes on this team, regardless of the construction of the team too, right? Because going into next season, it doesn't matter necessarily what the construction looks like. We can lose Matteo and bring some other guys in, or do some other pieces and bring some new pieces in. I think the expectations of Knicks fans in general are going to be like, we need to surpass where we were this coming season. And now with Halliburton dealing with an Achilles injury, that opens up the East even more, which is crazy, right? And so like that's like, this is ours for the taking when you don't got a lead guy like Halliburton and you don't got a lead guy like Jason Tatum. And so, the East, it's going to be dramatically different next year.
Yeah, it is. It's crazy that all this is happening.
Crime's dad just said no Dame either. So I don't know if he's going to be out for the season next year, but he's probably going to take a little bit to get back. So,
and that's interesting too, and it also makes me think the whole thing, because Giannis wanting to have a chance to win a championship again, and not knowing, first off, he doesn't really want to leave Milwaukee. We already know he's very, very loyal to where he's at, and so and from what was said most recently, is that he wants to see what Milwaukee is going to do to help build around this team one more time before he makes his decision as to if he wants to be there anymore. Right. Then you got the fact that I don't, whatever, but then you got the fact that Tatum's out, right? Dame's out, so they got to figure out how do they replace Dame. They've lost Middleton, right? So what do they do? But if they can do something and build around that team, maybe Giannis in Milwaukee says, "Hey, it's wide open for us too. Let's see what we can do." And maybe that holds Giannis to Milwaukee another year now that guys like Halliburton and Tatum are out. So I don't know. It's it's very iffy right now.
But again, the East is wide open, which makes the pressure that much higher to whomever is going to be the person who's taking on this job. As much accolades you can receive as the head coach of the New York Knicks, or just like press and everything that comes with it, it's going to come a lot of pressure, a ton of pressure that comes with that as well.
That's very true. That's very true. I mean, as much as even if they try to downplay the expectations and the pressure, it's gonna be there no matter what. And the fan bases, we talk about New York, like, and the media. There's no way to get around
Hmm.
that level of
It's
pressure
true.
that you're gonna experience. It's automatic. So yeah, I mean, we'll see. And I do think that I was saying this on Saturday's marathon show, 7 hours for anybody who missed it.
You did not
Uh,
wait 7 hours, bro. You went 7 hours.
seven
That
hours,
was
bro.
that's it, right? That's your
That,
threshold.
that, that that's the new threshold.
That's the
Yeah,
record.
that's
That's the new record.
holy boy. I don't know
Wow,
why.
bro. You
I
soon you're gonna be up there with Kai Cenat and them going
yeah,
24
nah.
hours of streaming live. Like you want the Guinness Book of World Records here? Like
Nah,
what's
I'm good,
going
B.
on?
I don't even know how we got. The funny thing is, I had different things on the agenda to talk about, and we stood on coaching for 7 hours, and it was good conversation. I couldn't get
What?
off it. It's crazy, right? I
Okay.
know. It's wild. Anyway, whatever.
I'm gonna have to.
Um,
I'm gonna replay that and like I have to have a nice long ride. It's gonna be a part two, part three. I have to put it in parts. I have to watch it in
you
parts.
need it in pieces, right? Every time you got to drive
Okay.
long distance. Yeah, yeah. All right. Or if
Okay.
you
Gotcha.
doing, if anybody has a job where they're doing stock or inventory in the back, yeah, just put this on in the background. You get through
There you go.
your 8 hour shift in no time. Anyway, so it was a
Wow,
fun
bro.
show though.
Seven
Fun
hours.
show. Yeah, but we in that show, like we talked about, you know, Borrega kid and all these other possibilities. But the other thing that came out of that show was also understanding what it is that the Knicks need. What
Right.
is it? What is different? You know, that we're looking forward to in a new coach that we didn't get from Tibbs. And so I thought that the conversation was really good on that. But one of the things that we talked about was accountability. And even though Tibbs
Right.
held people accountable to a certain extent, you know, he kind of lacked a lot of the emphasis on it, you know, this year as opposed to what he was doing last year. Last year, like he would bench RJ Barrett, he would put
Right.
Julius Randle on the bench, he even benched Brunson a couple times. This year, there was less of that and more of, you know, instead of me benching you, how can I play you even more? Like it was a little different. Um, and
He
so we were
definitely
also
played
talking about
favorites.
no, he
He
definitely
definitely
did.
had
And the
play
Josh Hart
favorites.
stuff, I mean, the Josh Hart stuff
Mm-hmm.
got people going crazy. That's
Yeah.
like
Could do no wrong.
yeah, yeah. Um and so I mean, but that goes to the whole thing, and that's part of the reason why I feel like the firing of Tibbs was warranted, because if you say that you don't like how there's always so much isolation ball, or you don't like how the offense is run, or you don't like how they play drop coverage on the defense, or you don't like this, and then you're watching it play out every single game, and Tibbs is not
Mhm.
stopping it, then that means that's his game plan. So if you got a problem with all
Mhm.
that, that means you got a problem with the coach. So I'm like, you
Right.
know, it was a lot of different things that make sense to me. So going forward, if we're looking for somebody different, I mean, what's your thoughts on that, John? What, how? So we also had a conversation a while ago about the style of play. Like, this is New York,
Mhm.
and you know, we're used to seeing New York basketball be grimy, gritty, very defensive oriented. You know, the
Right.
offensive side of it wasn't as big because here, like, we never really had a lot of offensive weapons until now. So,
Right.
but do you think that the Knicks should continue to stay with that style of basketball, or would you be surprised if they did a total 360 and flipped it to this more offensive motion offense type thing that you might see from an Indiana or like a Dallas? No,
Right.
not really Dallas. Sorry, Indiana or a Sacramento or a Boston. Boston does a lot of motion too
Yeah.
to get their threes open. What do you think about that?
Yeah. There's one thing that I know we won't be going in the direction of, and that's sort of like a Pacers type of offense, which is fast paced. I don't think we
Mm.
have the I don't think we have the players to run up and down the court.
And we're not an
I think
athletic
we
team.
have right, and I mean we're a solid team. Like guys are talented. We have a lot of talent on this team. Um, I think we have to figure out ways to get into a motion offense but also um, hold our hat on the defensive side, even though we have two players that are insufficient on the defensive side. You know what I mean? Which is going to be interesting to see how that dynamic is with a new coach and how they try to hide, Brunson and Cat when they're on the court together. Because the reality is that unless Cat plays the four, he's going to be who he is at the five defensively. You know what I mean? So there's not much hiding him because you need him to be a rim protector to some degree. What he does do well is rebound the ball. Now, can you match him up with someone who can be a rim protector is the question. And whoever is going to be the next coach, are they willing to, to play guys like a Precious if Precious is still around, or if we make a trade for someone more on the defensive end of the ball. You know what I mean? Because as we see it today, at least as I see it today, OG Anunoby is not truly a four. He's more of a three, a good defensive wing stopper, and probably he would probably play his best at that position versus being pushed at the four. But again, it all depends on who comes in and what shifts we decide to make on the roster side. But a fast-paced team, I don't see us pushing up and down the court. I do see us getting into better motion sets. I do hope that they're looking for a coach who can find ways to make the game a lot more easier for players like Brunson and for Cat, even for OG Anunoby. Like there was a lot of moments this year where we see OG sort of trying to go at someone one-on-one, and that's not really his game. He's more of a back cut, slice to the basket type of player, like a Sean Marion type, where he's most effective when he's rim running or going, diving to the basket and, getting the alley oops or getting boards off of rebounds or getting, back cuts, for easy layups. So I'm hoping, and I don't even know if that's the direction we'll go to, but I'm hoping that that's what the Knicks are looking for, a coach that can, play more on the offensive scheme of things versus, and then if defense, we lack some defense, that's okay, as long as we could keep it under 15 like the Pacers did. I think the Pacers were like top 15, right, in defense. So they weren't all the way the best team on defense, but they were good enough because their offense was dynamic enough to get them to the next level.
Right. That's a good point. Yeah. I'm still on the fence. I'm up in the air as to what style of play that this team should come out with. What makes more sense for them? I guess it all depends on if they keep the same core pieces, because they can still remain highly defensive. They've got guys that can definitely play some good defense. But if they start trading off a couple pieces, like if they trade a Macau, for example, and
Right.
say if
It'll
they
be
had
different.
to throw a deuce in there, that you changing the dynamic of this team. And if you're looking for good defense from a team lacking those two guys, it's going to be a lot more difficult. So yeah, I mean,
Yeah. I mean, all those pieces, right? If you trade a
right,
Hart,
yeah,
you're gonna miss something, right, on the rebounding side and just effort in general, right? If you move on OG, even though he has the highest contract right now, if there's a team willing to pay him that kind of money and trade us someone for that, you're gonna miss someone. You're gonna miss him dearly on the defensive side of the ball. Same thing with Mitch Robinson. If he's not here with the team, you're gonna miss him as a defender. But what we do know is that, and this is the question too, because a lot of folks said we weren't good enough offensively. Like our bench wasn't good enough offensively to be impactful in our series run or in our playoff run. But it's hard to tell, right? Those spot minutes were very sporadic, and it's very difficult to tell whether Shamit or Precious was able to even be impactful. I think there were moments where you see Shamit come in and be effective, and there were like really less moments where you've seen Precious play minutes, like specifically against the Pacers, where he defended pretty decently against
Mhm.
Pascal. And then the one outlier was sort of Campaign, right? Who had moments through the regular seasons where he kept us in games and he was really good for us. Probably even in the Pistons series, I could say he had some moments, but you know, it was. I think a lot of the animosity stemmed from his lack of play during the regular season. And
Mhm.
I think Macau Bridges brought that up. You know what I mean? He felt as his boy, because that's his people's, felt like he can contribute more than he was able to contribute this year. And I think that was part of it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, you could understand that he would stick up for his guy, especially knowing how things change, these systems change. Like when you get playing time at one point, and then the rotations change, and then now you're scraping for minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's tough to deal with, especially when you know that the team is lacking something. When
Right.
the bench ain't quite right. Yeah, no, man, definitely.
And when the starters are speaking on it, you know what I mean? When the starters are saying Brunson has the ball too much on his hands, like there was nothing was hidden, and even Brunson acknowledged it a lot of the times when he heard the chatter come out, he also said, I need to be better. You know what I mean? He
Yeah.
never hid away from it. He always said, I need to be better as a player, as a point guard, as a distributor. He needed to be better. That's the one thing I give Brunson, even though he understands who he is as a player and understands his game. Um, he never shied away from being the guy or being accountable. You know what I mean?
Right.
Not to say that he shifted his game to marry someone else's, because that's not what he did, but he owned it. He said, look, I got to be better. In order to win games, I got to be better. I got to play better. I can't turn over the ball. You know what I mean? Crucial situations. And, it is what it is at this point.
Very true. Very true. Well, let me say what's up to the chat.
Yeah.
And
It's been a
then
long time.
it's been a minute, huh? And then we can kind of open up the phone lines. We could talk a little bit about some of these draft prospect people. I'm not, once again, guys,
I
let me
have
tell you
not
something
even
real quick.
tuned in.
I know I wasn't really either, but I've been kind of following a little bit lately. I'm not doing a deep dive, guys. I'm gonna tell you why. One, I'm not doing a deep dive because the Knicks have the 50th pick in the second round. That is such a crapshoot. You have no clue who the Knicks are going to pick with that 50th pick.
Right.
Here's another thing. I'm watching all of these different shows and people coming up with these draft prospects. This is who the Knicks want. This will change the game for the Knicks. If this player can do that for the Knicks, you think he's going to be there at 50? Like he's just going to be sitting there. Hello, the Knicks need 3-point shooting. This is the best pure 3-point shooter in college basketball. He will be right there at 50 for the Knicks. I mean, come on, guys. I mean, don't get me wrong. I
We
love
know
it if that's the
Leon likes to
case.
get the 2-for-1. Leon Rose likes
You
to
know
get
what
the
I
two
mean?
for one.
Like, uh,
Yeah, he likes to
I,
trade off and get that 2-for-1. So
I mean, I would love it if it happens, but I just like I don't know. But anyway,
listen,
shout out to
there's also
well, good.
something we have about to like the players that we had on the bench this year. We had about three,
Oh
four
no, I
rookies,
know.
right?
That's
So
right.
that's
We don't know
that's a
what they're gonna do.
huge shift, right? That could change everything on our end as far as the bench row, right? They could somewhat become impact players. Does Kolek take another step forward? Does
Mm-hmm.
Daddier at 6'8" become an impact player for this team, whether he becomes a starter or off the bench? Does Hawk Porty garner more minutes? And the McCullough kid, does he have the ability to step forward and get some spot minutes off the bench? So this team might look significantly different next year,
True,
depending on
true.
who we decide to bring back.
Right, and depending on who the coach is, because we might
That's
get a
true.
coach that's very willing to give guys a shot to earn their minutes.
That's a
So
fact.
we'll see. We'll see. We might get a coach that has no favoritism whatsoever. I mean, he's gonna obviously,
Right.
certain guys are gonna
Right.
play, but I'm saying like he might leave it open ended. We'll
Yeah,
see.
and like I said, there's no telling what a coach is going to do. A coach could come in and decide to play off of Cat and have Cat be the main distributor or main
Mm-hmm.
focal point, or completely opposite of that and just go directly to someone like Macau or, a mix of Macau and Brunson. Like, there's no wrong or right way to do it. It's just, what's going to be most effective for the team moving forward and what's going to look good when we're actually watching the game. Like, are we going to see the offensive side of the ball look more cleaner, and not just so ISO ball, restricted, you know what I mean? Which we had a lot of this year.
Yeah, yeah. Even if a coach just says instead of Brunson bringing the ball up, we're gonna have Macau or someone else bring the ball up the court and go from there and then go into our offensive set. That would make a change right there, because that's also a whole bunch of time that Brunson doesn't have to dribble the ball up, and people might be able to get into different sets. He can roam around and possibly get into a better shooters mode. Little things like that can make a big difference.
Yeah.
We'll see. Shout out to all you guys in the chat. Thank you guys for being here and watching. Please smash that like button if you haven't already done so. You see it. We back full strength tonight. John is in the building. Jose's in the building. La Tres Mascareritos, baby. We here. Okay. All right. Anyway, shout out to Lena Franklin in the building. Lena said, "Hey people, I met Deuce McBride at the Fanatics Festival yesterday, and I gave him a T-shirt that says Dad on it for being a dad for the first time. He loved it, and also
That's awesome.
I got his children's book. Oh, cool. Very dope, Lena. Shout out to you. Let's go. Shout out to Walter Blackman in the building. Salute to you, Walter. Good evening. Andios NYK's in the building. You know how Andios gives it up. Please go support Andios. Shout out to Crim's Dad, a member of the SKF Army. Crim's Dad, Crimes Dad, however you want to say it. Hey, John, he made it rain on Saturday, bro.
Oh, word.
Giving out gift memberships. He gave out like 25 gift memberships, bro. It was crazy.
Oh, wow.
It was crazy.
It was long enough. It was such a long show that Andio said he got in trouble and had to sleep on the couch.
Yeah, he had to sleep on the couch. Yeah. It was crazy. Oh man, shout out to him, man. That was dope. Shout out to Joey Rip 'em Up Sports, another member of the SKF Army. JJ's in the building. Tori B's in the building. Let's go, Tori.
Yes, sir.
HRM is here. Fritz Alcindor Jr. is in the building. The NBA Economy Show is here. Oh, guys, please, like the whole thing. I may not do a deep dive. I may not give you, but check out Fritz's show on the NBA Economy about the draft. He did a really good show. He chopped it up with a young man who is very smart, very talented. And he's the future of this here content game, man. So definitely check that out. I think you'll enjoy it. I had a good time watching it. So NBA Economy Show.
Check it out.
Also, shout out to my guy Q Burrow, brother in the building. Shout out to you.
Salute.
And we appreciate all you guys for being here and tuning in. Randu's in the building, a member of the SKF Army. Shaw Powers is in the building. Knicks Real Talk is here. Salute. Shout out to Leon Mitchell, son from Brooklyn, in the building.
All right,
Jay Chosen's in the building. David Smith is in the building. Salute. JM3 is here. And I think I got everybody. But if there's anybody out there that we might have missed, it's not for lack of trying. Appreciate everybody tuned in.
Appreciate you all.
So, another thing we can do while we continue to talk is, why not open up the phone lines? If anybody wants to call in and get to chop it up with us.
Yeah, man.
And why not? Yeah.
What should we talk about when they come on, though? Do we have what should be the topic?
I think everybody everybody wants to weigh in on who they think the next Knicks coach should be. But the other thing is, people are also want to weigh in, even though I know we got the 50th pick. For whatever reason, people like the draft. So they want to tell us who they want the Knicks to draft with 50. Hey, you know what I mean? Look, I'll tell you, first off, the prediction from a lot of sports entities around these little shows like Sports Illustrated and CBS Sports and something else, they all pick the same person. And I haven't seen anybody really talk about him. Mind you, I don't even know if this pick makes sense, and we'll talk about why in a second. But a lot of people that I've seen, a couple of publications, have been talking about this European player. His name is Lachlan Ulbrich.
Okay.
He is 6'10", 235 pounds. He's from the Australian NBL, the same place we got Huck Porty from. He's
Okay.
known as being a gritty bruiser, and his skills will fit New York perfectly. He's also a really good passer for a big man. So your
Sound like
typical
Hartenstein.
European big, yeah, like a Hartenstein.
Mhm.
And they think that he would really fit what the Knicks need. Now, the only thing I don't know when they started doing the scouting for this, because now we got the, James Najee's coming over here. So I don't know if we really need this guy now,
Mhm.
because James Najee is like 6'10", 6'7" feet close to, and
Right.
he's like a poor man's Mitchell Robinson. Like Mitchell Robinson when he first came into the league. Very raw, athletic, good rebounder. Not a great shooter, but just think Mitchell Robinson. So
So you're saying
I
this
don't
kid is
know.
already a part of the team? They brought him in?
Yeah, like Najee, yeah, they're exercising his rights, and he's saying that he wants to be in the NBA. So he's coming from overseas, and he's
Okay.
most likely going to be on the Knicks summer league squad.
Listen, at some point,
We got him in the cat trade.
okay. I mean, listen, at the very least, at least they're being uh they're they're putting caution to the wind. They're looking at every, they're not leaving a stone unturned, right? They're looking through any which way to find, talent. And I think that's important, right? Because there were moments in our years of watching the Knicks where we lack talent, right? We lack not only height, skill, but we also lack just physical talent. Sometimes we came on the court with like a team that was sort of minor league. You know what I mean? I mean, Langston Galloway was the starting point guard of this team. You know what I mean? Like, think about it. I mean, good player. Don't get me wrong, but was he NBA like ready? Did we have any superstars on that team? You know what I mean?
Can I say my guy? If he
I know
watches this
you
show,
were
he
here
probably
for him.
Hey, we had Clee Anthony early on the show, baby. Let's
I
go.
said,
I mean, sorry, he was on the team, not on the show.
Right.
Clee Anthony early, man.
So
it was
we
them days,
we
bro.
had a team, man. Of guys who were just like players who were sort of on the like cusp of being like a minor league player, right? Like players who were kind of like brought in the draft but quickly forgotten about, right? And so that's one of those. We had a full roster of that, to be honest, at one point, right? And so it's an interesting play right now that we have superstars on the team. We have 2 lead guys. We have a third in Mikal Bridges, you know what I mean, who some say were one of the best, you know what I mean, perimeter defenders and players, So
All right, caller. You are on live on SKF Weekly with Ron and John. Your name and where you're calling from.
Yeah, how you doing?
what's going
My
on?
first time calling.
You can't disguise your
You can't
voice,
even hide
bro.
that
I
voice,
know who
right?
you are, man. Shout out to Jay
Is this-
Chosen.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is this my doctor? Oh, I thought I called the wrong phone. I'm so sorry. Shout out to Jerky Boys. If you're old enough, you know about it. I'm bringing my glasses and my shoes, so I have them. You know what it is. Yeah, no doubt. That was one of my favorite voices. The guy used to call up. He'd be like, hello. It's my best thing ever. And then he'd be like, chilling, man. Oh, man, Langston Galloway, man. I was just with him the other day. No, I wasn't. God, shooting out names. Clay Anthony early. You know what? I actually thought he was going to be pretty decent. But I guess his last name should have been late. All right, didn't follow the joke. So,
I see what you did there. That's
you see what I did there? Well, listen, I'm older. I'm a father. It's a family show. I had other things to say. I reeled it back last second. Okay, so
okay.
John, welcome back. Welcome back. It's good to see you there, brother. Happy Father's Day to you. I hope your son is killing it.
Oh, he's doing his thing. Appreciate you. Thanks.
Of course, man. Of course, man. So I just wanted to call in and just kind of like, set it off with the conspiracies and maybe like the who, do we think that that they already have a coach? I really believe that when they do, even the way they worded it, when they took Tibbs out, right, that they already had things in mind, that this has been, it was like already set up. I mean, I guess if we won it all, maybe things would have changed, but, and if that's the case, I'm wondering if we're, this is going to sound crazy. I'm wondering if we're understating anybody that's already here. And I don't know why I've been thinking that lately. So, as the bench coaches, we have Rick Brunson,
Mm-hmm.
right? Who do we have? We have Cheeks, right?
Cheeks.
Mm-hmm. Anybody can name any others? I can't right now off the top of my head.
We've got Dice Yoshimoto.
Yoshimoto.
Although,
yeah.
and I wonder about Dice, and I think they are already kind of. Honestly, I think all of these guys are already kind of prepping to move on. Because they already said that the Knicks Summer League coach is someone else, and it's been Dice the last 2-3 years, so it's someone else this year. So.
Okay, well, there goes my conversation. Thanks for having me. No,
hey, take care of yourself, man. It's been real.
Damn it, I want my money back. All right, so no, I'm not sure. I really, really, truly believe they're gonna have like name a coach soon. It can't be all. We can't be waiting super long. The coach needs to be involved heavily in the summer league, the drafting, the setting up of the team, even the trades, even the all this stuff. And this stuff is creeped up. You know how like I don't know how old you are, but it just crept up on you. Like I turn around, I'm like, damn, I'm this old already, or this happened already, or the season. Think about the season. I felt like we just started talking about the season. It's over. So, so my question, we've been talking for a bit, but I haven't heard John's point of view. Do you have a leading candidate, also one that's like that you think they have, and do you have somebody that you would like? I caused a lot of issues the other day when I said Mark Jackson. I'm about to start him again, but I wanted to bring it up because I wanted John to know that's what I thought. But I sure did saw some stuff. So
that's how the show starts off 1, 2, 3, 4 and turns into a 7-hour show.
It's a 7-hour. Shit, just on Mark alone, huh? I see.
I said Mark around the 3-hour mark, and all of a sudden, whoop, it was gone.
Well, listen, I got a surprise guy for you right now. You talk about guys who are, currently with the Knicks and, are. Listen, Othello Harrington hasn't been thrown around enough. Just saying.
Interesting.
I'm totally kidding. I'm totally kidding.
I know you
Totally
got
Yeah,
kidding because I think
yeah, thank God.
I think
Thank
Harrington was a big
God.
man coach, and then he lost his big man coach job to Mark Bryant. So I don't know what Othello's
Did
doing
he?
now.
Yeah, he probably
I
did.
can't. I can't lie to you. I was being really nice just now. I was like, interesting. How about
How about this guy
Langston
that knows what the hell
Galloway?
he's talking about? No, man.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
almost started searching Google. I was like, what?
No, but it's interesting because I'm with you, Ron. I think most of the coaches are not going to be here next season. I think there's going to be a new group of players, new group of coaches that come in with a new coach. You generally have anytime you have a new regime, especially in senior leadership, specifically coaching, they're going to want guys who they're comfortable in working with, and Maurice
Mm-hmm.
Cheeks is one of those guys that the NBA isn't too fond of. I mean, players
Mm-hmm.
and coaches themselves are not too fond of who he is as a person. So, you know what I mean? Needless to say, I'll be
Yeah.
surprised to see him around with the Knicks next year. I think he came on as a favor to, or as a favor to Tibbs. I think Tibbs and him have a relationship, and he was fond enough to bring him on. But I think whoever
Right.
we bring in next is going to bring a core of new guys with him, and they're going to be coaching, specifically to the needs of how they want to see this team, shift and address sort of some of the flaws that we see on the offensive side. So, who would be interesting and would be, well, she's in. What was her Becky? She was with the Spurs for a little bit. Becky Hammond.
Becky
That
Hammond.
would that would be an interesting push just because of the world who we're in today. And so it'd be like, hey, we trying to, open the doors for this or for that, just to see a different experience. But I don't think she would work, right, in today's NBA,
No,
specifically
especially
for the
after her
players that we
comments
have.
about Brunson. Yeah.
Right. It's
Because
not
And
going
not
to
only
work.
that, but you got James Dolan, the owner, who's been in the news in the past. Anyway, about
No, of course.
women stuff, and I mean, I think that's a way more interesting idea. And you know what? After the Othello thing, I'm not quite sure if you're being serious with me. So
No,
I mean, but I think that's an interesting idea, and I would like to see at least in New York, like a bench coach, at least a female bench coach. I don't see why not, right? And then maybe some of you could work into it later in life. But
yeah, I think Pop is before his time, right? So Pop was a guy who
definitely
really lived it. You know what I mean? He talked the talk and he walked the walk, and so it's different than a lot of other coaches in the NBA or just people in general. So he's one of the folks he spoke about it and he was about it, and he brought the people who he believed in, and so that's a culture shift, right? And so whoever we bring on is, we hope that they would have this sort of impact that Coach Pop had in the NBA or for the Spurs. We got signs of that, right? We pretty much had some of that in Tibbs, where he shifted the culture, and give credit where credit is due. Without Tibbs, we're not in this situation, right? We're here because of
right.
Tibbs. Tibbs helped rally the troops, rallied NY together. He understood what the need was, and he came in and he did what he needed to do. Now, was his tenure, way too long? Did he surpasses the need? I don't know. I mean, we'll see, right? Next season will show whether it was short lived. Was it premature? Was it not? We'll find out next year. But as of today, I think the Knicks are going to go young. I think the Knicks are going to look towards the future. And whoever they bring is going to really be just, someone who the players can really, gravitate to. I think that's the key, is like, can they bring a guy here who the young players can gravitate to and can learn from? That's the key.
Right.
And saying that, I'm sorry, Ron. Saying that, okay, do you believe then possibly that's it? It's just a younger coach or somebody that has relationships with any of these guys, or is it right now? Do you believe it's truly up in the air? It's just up in the air, and or do you believe that they kind of have an idea of where they're going? Not just the list that we see on a regular basis, which we talked about the other day, but is it up in the air at the moment still?
I mean, to me, it'd be surprising if they didn't already have an idea of who they want, and they're just looking at,
Right.
they're like trying to finalize a number right now, and then everything else is just PR. Because to move away from Tibbs is something that most teams wouldn't do without a backup plan, right? And so, why would you move away from Tibbs if you didn't already have a backup plan? So, I think personally, Leon Rose already has an idea, along with the decision makers with the Knicks. I just think right now they're just trying to settle on a number, and then once the number's settled on, then they can make all the noise go away. And I don't know if it's going to be specifically completed by the beginning of this season. I think it's going to be before the season starts, but I think it's a long summer, so.
I totally agree with that, and I really believe this. I think that that for some reason, this is what I think. I think they're going to go offensively minded. They just went through a thing that was defensively minded, but you know what? As I say that, first of all, let me just say this, and I said it on Saturday. I'm saying one last time. Yes, Tibbs got fired. Me personally, I wouldn't have did it yet. Though I do believe we need to get younger, just like you said, coaching, all that needs to be younger. But Tibbs raised us a level every year. Though he did become kind of get off my grass type of guy, and so in my mind, I keep I'm looking around on who's cool with running the offense and definitely integrating the bench, right? The bench has to be addressed. Everything has to be addressed, and we have to figure that out. And on the last note, and I'll hang up. Is Bridges in the future of the New York Knicks? In my opinion, I would like to see us package a deal with him in it. So, that's it. But it's great to see you back.
Thank you, man.
And
Appreciate you.
No doubt about it. And Ron, I pretty much knew what you said. We said it for like 7 hours the other day. So, like I said, I'll hang up so other people could call. But I'd really like to hear your opinion on that as well. And I'll listen to it as you do it.
All right. Sounds good, brother. Thanks for the call, my guy.
Always, guys, man. Blessings to you both.
Blessings, peace.
All right, man. Peace.
So what do you well, let me weigh in my little theory right now about the coach thing, and then ask you how you feel about Macau, because I have a feeling about that too, but I've already expressed it. I can reiterate it, but I don't know if any of you guys do this. Like, sometimes life is a little flimsy, you know what I mean? You got to do things to keep yourself excited, do things to, just keep you somewhat excited about something. And like, sometimes when I go looking for lunch, I don't know what I want to eat. So I'll be walking and I'll say, I'll walk past a pizzeria. Okay, pizza. All right. I could do pizza. I don't know if I want that, but I'll keep walking, right? But I already got pizza. So now I know. At least I got pizza. And I just keep walking until something really hits me. I feel like the Knicks already have a coach. This is what I think. I think the next head coach is between 3 people. I think Taylor Jenkins right now is the New York Knicks coach. But even though they know he's there, he had a great interview. They really like what he had to say. They still are talking about interviewing Borrega. If Borrega wows them, then he supplants Taylor Jenkins, and maybe they switch and pivot to him. And
Right.
then the other person is obviously Jason Kidd, because apparently they were really in love with Jason Kidd for whatever reason. So if Jason Kidd becomes available, he's the guy.
Yeah.
So, but I think right now the Knicks already have a coach, and I think that coach is Taylor Jenkins. Until they start talking to someone else who tells them something that they like more than what they already like from Taylor Jenkins.
Right. I mean, in the world of coaching, in the world of just politics, in the world of, business, relationships are everything. You know what I mean? And that's one of the reasons why Kid is so high on the totem pole, right? Because he's built those relationships over time, and he's been not only a player but a player coach. Has always been, someone who was very well liked and everything. So I think that's the key component when it comes to Kid currently right now. But I think we got a call.
Yeah. Caller, you on
Hello.
live with SKF Weekly with Ron and John. Who your name and where you calling from?
Well, hello, Ron and John. This is Yuri.
What's up, Yuri?
Yuri just Yuri just had to make sure that Krem's dad was right.
Yes. Yes,
Nice.
I
Hold on,
did.
Yuri.
Good. Very good.
And good to hear from you, Yuri. This is your first. I mean, it's probably your second time calling in on our shows, right?
My second time.
Yeah. And Yuri is a big caller. If you guys watch the Objective Knicks fan and our guy Karan, he calls in Karan's show all the time. He's a staple over there. So shout out to you, bro.
That's awesome.
Thanks for calling in. What's on
Thanks
your
for
mind,
the
man?
support.
Nothing much. This coaching search has been reminding me of how 2020's coaching search has been. We're hearing a lot of rumors, and it feels like two candidates, then there's one unknown candidate, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm getting vibes from that, at the same time, though, I just want to know who our next coach is. I want this coach to be, good. He's going to have his pros and cons as time goes on. And I fully believe in Leon Rose and choosing the right coach. I wouldn't have any other man on this job than Leon Rose.
Mm-hmm.
That's my first thought. My second thought is the Mikal Bridges extension. I'm pretty sure that's been on everyone's mind ever since this season is over.
Yep.
And I was looking on my stable on NBA New York. Shout out to them. It looks like the rumor is they're going to try to make Mikal Bridges extension up to 2 years. They're going to try to lock him up for 3 more years, and they're going to give him 132 mil or 120 mil. So that's something to keep in mind. Something to keep that in mind going forward, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you also got the Mitchell Robinson extension. Now, me personally, I would extend Mitch. He's shown his playoff worth, right? It was challenging for him to stay healthy, but at the same time, though, you got to play the game of these are 2 players on there last year. So who's going to take the extension? Who's going to take the pay cut? And who you're going to have to trade off? That is what I'm interested in going forward to this offseason. I'm not worried about the depth, and I'm not worried about the core staying together. I believe Jalen, Brunson, and Cat is going to be untouchable in trade talks. I think Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby, OG's contract and his trade value that you can use for depth, whether people like to admit it or not, OG is going to be a trade piece going forward for depth. So the thought process is for Leon Rose, I feel like, is how you're going to play this. You need depth, but at the same time, you don't want to break up the core. So that's what I wanted to ask you, Ron. How do you feel about that?
I mean, I think OG's name is always going to be thrown out there because his contract is not a bad contract. It's kind of the norm for a player that's played in the league for this amount of years that he's played and for his abilities, even though some people still question the amount. But I mean, we got to be real. OG has shown the ability to give us something on offense, and we definitely know he gives us something on defense. And the money has gone up all around. Yeah. So it's not like the contract is bad. And plus, there's going to be plenty of teams that are going to be in a position where they want to add that one piece, like an OG Anunoby. So he's always going to be an attractive option for teams.
Right.
What you said about Macau, that's news to me. Like, I mean, that's new. I didn't know that they're looking to maybe go 3 years instead of, because I know Macau's offer, the max is supposedly 4 years, 156 million, which would put Macau at around 39 million per year, which I think is a lot of money. I don't think the Knicks want to do that and commit to that for 4 years. Now, maybe, according to Knicks contracts, you know how they like to do it. They might want to give him the 3 years, 2 years with the team option for the third, like they've been doing in the past. I don't know if he'll be willing to take that, but if he wants the top dollar amount, maybe that's how they make it work. We'll give you this amount, but for less time. So that's interesting. I didn't think about that. Maybe that's something they do, and that'll keep him here. But we got to see.
That's the rumor mill as of right now. I don't know how true it is. I don't know how.
Yeah,
true
I could see that though. That actually makes sense. But I do think that if the Knicks want to make a move to better this team, they might have to think about the possibility of trading Macau and seeing what it gets you. Only if it gets you something that makes sense. You don't want to go backwards, and you don't want to do something that you have question marks about. It has to fit the team going forward. We don't have a lot. We've got 3-something million in a veterans minimum. We've got 5.7 in a mid-level exception. We don't got a lot to play around with in free agency. So we'll see. That's actually very interesting that you said that. I don't know, John. What do you think?
I mean, let's not forget that this team has only been together for one complete year, right? And I think
true.
that's part of it as well. It's like the way you think I mean, as a business person, you never want to let go of your wins, and so it's hard to say you're gonna go in a different direction when you made it to the semifinals, right? Like you're like an Eastern Conference Finals. You have the ability to play better than what you've positioned yourself to do, and yet you're looking to trade away some of those key pieces. It's hard to say if you can get that back, right? Like you can pose as many trades as you want, but are you going to actually the return on investment is the key, right? It's like you invested the time and energy to bring Macau here. Now you move away from him, and you got to restart that over with new players if you receive the same caliber of player, right? Or players. And so I find it hard to believe that the Knicks will look for trading this offseason just to make cap room. I think for me, I believe, and I could be wrong, but I do believe that they're going to stick it through, and we're going to do minor moves where, it's more of a fill in the roster with players who people aren't really paying much mind to, as well as what we have as far as our bench pieces right now with our rookies, and seeing if any of them can actually take a step forward. I really find it hard to believe that we're looking to trade Mikal Bridges or OG Anunoby. If there's any trade piece, it's probably going to be Deuce, someone like that who can look good in a different uniform, but it's not going to turn our team completely around.
Right. And Deuce is on a cherry picker contract right now as well. So he's due for an extension as well in December.
Correct.
So that's something to keep in mind as well. Overall, the team's in a good place right now. You made the ECF. I feel like they made the ECF despite of Tibbs' coaching. That's how talented this team was. And regards to Tibbs being fired, I didn't like it at first because I was like, the guy made the ECF. I felt like he should have gotten another shot. But I understand why it had to be done. My take on it was, when I heard that Leon Rose and him were not on speaking terms anymore, and he had problems with the front office, at that moment I was like, yeah, he was going to get fired regardless. The only way he was really going to stay is he made a finals appearance. Personally.
Right. Yeah, can't hear you, Ron.
And now you're looking for a coach
sound. All right. My bad.
I
was saying you might be right, Yuri. I was saying you might be right, Yuri. That might have been the case. Like if he made it to the NBA Finals, that might have saved his job.
Right. You know, and maybe.
Oh,
this is,
and
go ahead.
I just wanted to say to your point about Mitchell Robinson, about him getting extended. Knicks fans may not like to hear this. Okay, I don't know how Leon is thinking, but as a businessman, you know Leon moves the way he moves. You never quite know what he wants to do. And as
I didn't know
good
he was
as
going to put
Mitchell Robinson, right, and as good as Mitchell Robinson looked, and he stood healthy for the most part. He played every game. I don't think he missed anything. It was only 35 games. 17 regular season games and 18 playoff games. So I don't know if that's enough for them to say, you know what, we'll bank on you for another 3 years. It's a tough one to know. I don't know.
It might be a year-to-year
tough.
situation with Mitch.
And
what I mean? And options if he stays healthy.
Yeah, and I'm gonna get, and as for playoffs goes, I'm gonna give Hart a pass because he was going back to the bench, right? I know we were all not happy with Josh Hart's performances in the Pacers series, right? But I'm giving him a pass because he did say I want to go back on the bench. So, and we got to remember this guy was playing 40 to 44 minutes a night under Tom Thibodeau, and he was the one that stuck up for Tibbs, both on the court and off the court, right?
True.
But I definitely do believe when it comes to Josh Hart that he will be reduced back to his bench role, right? And I think people realize that he brings a lot to the team when it comes to rebounding. He crashes the boards. He facilitates to the team. And he can score the points when he needs to, when he's confident.
Yeah.
We saw a side of Hart when he's not confident. And I do think
I was going to say, I agree I think people are overreacting a little bit with Josh Hart. It's one bad series. And it was a bad series for a lot of our guys. Jalen Brunson didn't look good in that Indiana series either. So,
but I'll also say for Josh Hart, without Josh Hart, this team does not have any grit. I mean, I should say that again. Without Josh Hart, this team doesn't have any grit. And I also include Mitchell Robinson and Deuce on that category, that same category. Right. Those 3 guys were the guys who brought the grit. You know what I mean? The rest of the team doesn't really bring it that way. They bring it in different aspects of the game, like high IQ, defensive specialists, yada, yada, yada. But the grit, the go get it, you know what I mean? And go take it at any means necessary. You get that from a Deuce. You get that from a Josh Hart, and you get that from a Mitchell Robinson. What all 3 of those guys have in common is that they're going to make mistakes on the basketball court because they play with high energy and they play with, you know what I mean, a no care attitude. You know what I mean? Like they're going to make mistakes on the court because their game isn't predicated on anything other than hustle, right? And so hustle is what got those guys there to the league. Everything else, when it comes to skill, talent, everything else, that's secondary for the way they play the game.
Right. And JJ said it wasn't just one series. His defense was awful all year. I agree. His defense was suspect compared to what we saw from Josh in the past. But remember, this team has changed. Like last year, we had Hartenstein, we had Mitch at times, but then we had Hartenstein, and Precious was used a lot more. This year is a different team where you bring in a Mikal Bridges to go along with OG, who are both not good rebounders. So Josh's emphasis on rebounding was even more, which made him cheat even more. Yeah, he cheated a lot more this year than ever before, which definitely hurt his defense. So I agree with you, but I'm just saying, yeah.
He also played an undersized 4 for the entire season. Like let's be honest, that's not legit. That's not a primary position that Josh has ever really played in the NBA outside of being with the Knicks, right? He got that opportunity with the Knicks 2 years ago where he actually played his best ever. Coming off the bench, and Tibbs just fell in love with having a guy who has the abilities that he has at his size. I mean, he's at 6'5", right? 6'4", some say, with the ability that he has to get up and down the court. You know what I mean? He's at a disadvantage most of the time. But just on his mere hustle and ability to rebound and his grit has him had him play, 40, however many minutes Tibbs played them. And Tibbs just enjoyed the type of player he was, a guy who isn't who doesn't need the ball to be impactful. I think that's the key.
Right. Hey, Yuri, I just want to say we thank you for the call, my guy. I wish it could be a little longer, but we wanted to keep the show to a certain time limit, so because it's a little later
Not a
and people
problem.
got
Not a
stuff to do in
problem.
the morning. But I appreciate you, man. Thank you for giving us a call,
great
and
call.
by all means, you're always welcome, brother.
Oh, I think I do have one more question for both of y'all. Then I'm hop off.
Yeah,
Please.
go ahead.
In
Say
this-
it. Yeah.
In this off season, if a trade does happen, who do you think will be involved and why?
Okay. All right. Thanks, Yuri. I think personally, if a trade does happen, I think it'll be Macau. I think it'll be Macau because if they're gonna make a trade, I think they're gonna go. It's gonna be a trade that's going to give them something that's gonna really change the team. Because I think to what John said earlier, the Knicks have a lot of question marks and good question marks to have. Like we got 4 players with like basically untapped potential on the bench. So it's almost like getting free agents because you don't know what you're going to get from these guys, and they all have certain talents. A couple have a little bit more talented than the others. So with those 4 guys, you might be able to do some things if you just give them a chance to play. And you're going to be getting rid of guys like Campaign and Precious. So there's going to be more playing time opening up for other guys. So yeah. So we'll see.
Yeah, and then you never know.
What do you
Like
think?
there may be the Knicks might turn around and just offer those 1-2-way contracts again. Towards the start of the season, depending on what they realize they do or do not have on these rookies, right? And so, or second year players. I don't know. I mean, the NBA is fickle, right? The NBA has a way of finding it's a players' league. So if a player somehow finds it within themselves to talk to their agents and get their names out there, it may not be to the public's ear, but to the GMs across the NBA. It's been known to happen where players like I don't know. I'm gonna just throw out there, and I don't want to throw out this name, but let's say specifically like a Zion, right? Who wants to be a Knick, who's expresses his reasons for being a Knick and his wants to being in a big market like the New York Knicks. Is that a player that's worth having, right? Is that a player that Leon Rose sees as an impactful player? Can that mesh with a Anthony Towns, or can it mesh with a Jalen Brunson? You know what I mean? Is an OG Anunoby enough to get rid of? Is a Mikal Bridges enough to get rid of? Right? And so you never know what comes of the NBA. What you have to do is wait and see. But I think it all starts with the coaching. Like depending on who the Knicks identify as the coach, then at that point you could start thinking about ways in which, depending on the sort of offense that individual may bring, or their theories around offense and players and the scheme of how they coach, you can start thinking of players that you can see within this team and within this, this new regime of players. As of right now, I think we're going to stay put, though. I think we're going to stay put as of right now. We'll stay put. If Jason Kidd becomes the new coach of the New York Knicks, I would say that anything is possible. Anything is possible. If you get a Jason Kidd, then you can bring almost anyone to this New York Knicks team. And it's not specifically to his coaching style. I think it's more specifically to his reach in the NBA, right? He's a player's coach. He's a guy who people respect on and off the court, not necessarily for his off the court attributes, but more for the player who he was and who he is as a coach. I think that will speak volume. If it's a Mike Brown, that would also, identify players or non-players who you can see on this team. You know what I mean? Because he has a history of coaching. You know what I mean?
Well, and I will tell you that we talked about it in depth on Saturday, but the Taylor Jenkins guy,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he is, for whatever that means, he is the winningest coach in Memphis. He went to the playoffs 3 times out of 5 years. He won over 200 games in 5 years. And this last year, when he was fired, they made him fire all of his assistant coaches in the offseason prior to the year. I mean, that's really setting up a dude for failure. And then they hired his replacement. So, and made him be on the bench with him. So, he got set up for failure over there. But so he's interesting, and I think the Knicks really liked what he had to say, which is what they're saying. But we'll see, man. I honestly think, as I said this on Saturday, this Knicks team has enough talent on it, and question marks about other talent we got, but we got enough talent on it that any competent coach could come in and get this team to the playoffs. As far as getting them further and, all that stuff is a whole nother thing, but I think we'll be okay.
The one question I do have about Jenkins is the complacency around Ja, right? And I say this because when you think about a team and you have your star player getting caught up in all of this mess that was outside of basketball, that somehow intertwined into the basketball season, you as a coach, you have to take a hold of that situation, right? And you have to be able to parse out relationships amongst your players and what happens on and off the court, right? You have to be a willing participant and having the accountability as the head coach. And so for me, a guy like that is a question mark. If I'm in the business of making money and making sure the PR is right for the New York Knicks, we've changed what that looks like, right? I don't need another situation where a head coach is going to be absent when it comes to a player that gets in trouble with whatever they get in trouble with, right? And so that's my only hesitancy when it comes to
and I think you're not wrong. And I think people have that question, and that question came up on Saturday's 7-hour show. I love to keep throwing that out there.
Yeah. Number 8.
But I'll tell you, the one thing that my only pushback that I would say is that if Taylor Jenkins comes into this Knicks team, this Knicks organization, Leon Rose in the front office made sure that this team is made up of high character players. So 100%. He comes in not having to deal with that. And I don't think any moves that the Knicks make going forward, I think they're still going to keep to that mantra of having high caliber, players.
You get the reverse though with that. You get the reverse of that. What is the reverse of someone who isn't hot-headed?
Oh, well, I mean,
right?
Okay,
right? So,
that's true.
So that's what I'm saying, right? So there's a yin and a yang to it, right? You got to have players who can stay level-headed and stay within the frame of basketball, but then you get the complete opposite of that. You get a cat, right? Who is all basketball and not anything other than basketball. You get what I'm saying? And who can somewhat shy away from the light. And that's the important part. You need players who are willing to take accountability for their actions and for their play. Gentlemen like Cat, when you speak on it, has a hard time owning up to their deficiencies. And I think that's a key, right? And a coach in the NBA has to hold his team accountable, players alike, right? You have to press it. You have to press the right buttons. You can't press these kids the way we used to be pressed back in those days, where you had a little bit more of that grit, but I don't know. I just it's a fine line between players and coaches and the folks that they respect, you know what I mean, and the ones that they can just enjoy playing with just because they they love playing with them. You know what I mean?
And I got to tell you, the other thing too is, like people saying in the chat as well, is that Ja wasn't in favor of his playing style, and Ja kind of fell out of favor with him as a coach. But I got to tell you, if there was one person that I really don't really care about his opinion about the coach, it's Ja, because of his own personal antics and how he did things. So, I mean,
100%.
Hey, here's the flip side. Here's the thing we don't think of, John. Maybe Taylor Jenkins did have a problem with Ja's antics, but the front office, because
Oh,
Ja's
sure
the
he did.
golden boy, you know, maybe
Yeah.
they let stuff go. Who knows? I mean, we don't know.
course,
Anything
of
could have been
course.
going on over there.
You definitely don't know. It's just what we see. It's you know what I
Right.
mean? Just
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
you know, we're not in the light, right? We obviously not Memphis fans, but we're also not in the room with them. You know what I mean? So
True. All right. Well, before we get out of here, real quick, guys, just a couple things. First off, just want to give a big shout out to Crim's dad. Thank you for the generous super chat. He put his message was Jerky Boys. That's when Jay was doing his Jerky Boys impression. So he gave some money in favor of that. Shout out to you, Crim's dad. Appreciate you, my guy. And also, before we get out of here, just wanted to say what's up to Cowboys, as well as everybody else who might have joined Nostalgic Nick and everything. But to Cowboys had asked something about coaching and how are we going to draft a player without having a coach in place. It's a question. I think, you know, I talked about it a little bit before. We have the 50th pick. It's the second round of the draft. You know, it's one of those whereas you don't have a coach in place. But on the flip side, if you're interviewing coaches right now, especially a coach that you might like, say Mike Brown or Taylor Jenkins, you know, one of the questions you might ask them is, okay, so going forward, we got the NBA draft on Thursday. We got the 50th pick. This is what the teams
trade the rights over for the.
Yeah, like what do you think we should do? Should we move this pick, or if we were going to draft somebody, what's the type of guy you think could fit in? And so you already have an idea of what that coach likes. So when you're drafting with that same mindset of what makes sense. So I'm not saying that they're totally blind to what a coach might want, especially if Jenkins is a favorite right now until they continue. And the other thing too, guys, is we know without tampering, they've already talked to Jason Kidd. Okay, they may need to be able to talk to him officially. You know how this works. So anyway, I'm just saying, the NBA is all fugazi. So all right, but before we get out of here, I did say that I wasn't going to do a deep dive on people that the Knicks might draft, but I'm just going to tell you guys real quick 5 names, and these are 5 names to look for on Thursday night with the 50th pick. If the Knicks do draft, these are 5 names they might consider. One is Kobe Sanders. He's a 6'7" wing, 23 years old from Nevada. He's you know, a decent player. He's got he's like he's not an athletic person, but he can shoot the 3 a little bit. You know what I mean? His game is similar to, they remind like Kyle Anderson, slow-mo. So and slow-mo is very, you know, very specific in what he can do out there, and he can help basketball teams. So that's right. Who that young man would be, Kobe Sanders. Let me give you another name, Jameer Watkins. He's a 6'5" wing, another one that's 23 years old, Florida State. And this is the type of guys you're going to find at that pick. Somebody for a team that's trying to win a championship who's a little older, who is a little bit more advanced in understanding how to play basketball. So you'll find a common thread. He's a 6'11". He's got a 6'11" wingspan. He's already a CAA client, and you know, he's one of those that is a solid rebounder for his size, a la not Josh Hart, but you know, a good size you know, guard who can rebound pretty well. He's a below average 3-point shooter though. So, you know, I don't know if that's exactly what we're looking for. Just want to throw that out there. All right. Another person is Dink Pate. He's a 6'7", 8 guard, 19 years old from Mexico City. He's a big guard, so, you know, he's got some special to his game. He's got a good handle. He attacks the rim. He's got athleticism. So when you're looking for somebody that has a different type of skill that the Knicks may not have right now, somebody like, we've got Dadier and McCullough, but do we have a 6'8" type guy who attacks the rim and has a little bit of high flying game to him? You know, we don't really have that right now. So he's that style of player. All right. And then the last 2 are names that, these 2 are probably the names you're going to hear most often. If any one of these guys is available, the Knicks are probably going to draft them if they're going to use the pick. Micah Peavy, who's a 6'6" wing, 23 years old from Georgetown. Peavy is high on the Knicks list, apparently. He's a strong physical wing. and he is great at going in downhill and transition. So he pushes the break. He's a smart cutter, and he's defensively, apparently he can guard multiple positions. So he definitely fits a style of play that we've been used to with Nick players. And he's improved his 3-point shooting. So he's not bad. Knocked down 40% on 4.1 attempts per game. So that's actually pretty good. The only tricky thing about PV is this year was his best year as a 3-point shooter. Every other year, he didn't shoot as high. This was his breakout year. So if it's true or if it's fool's gold, we don't know. And then lastly, and then we'll get out of here, the last guy is the guy that, a lot of people want for the Knicks. I mean, I want him, but I don't think he's going to be there, is Kobe Brea. He's a 6'6" wing, 22 years old, from Kentucky. He is probably the best 3-point shooter in the draft. He shot 50% from 3. I mean, come on. Do you think he's going to be there at 50? I don't see it, man. Like, this dude is lights out. He made 43.5% of his threes on 5.9 attempts, almost 6 attempts a game. He is cash. So,
yeah, he's a shooter.
Yeah, I don't know if he would be there. Now, the only thing that works in the favor of the Knicks is he's very one-dimensional. He shoots the 3.
Just a shooter.
He's a shooter. So,
who
so I don't
who
know,
was
man.
that? Can we think back at one of our drafts of a guy who was just a shooter that we thought about? There's a guy who comes to mind. I can't think of his name though. There was a guy.
I mean, we didn't draft him. We picked him up. We had Steve Novak, but we didn't draft him.
No. I'm talking about like a kid.
Somebody we actually drafted that was just I don't know.
Just a shooter.
I don't know.
I'm gonna have to.
We thought Knox was going to be a shooter.
That's true. I guess
we thought Knox was going to be a shooter, but anyway. So we'll see, guys. That's what we got going on. Shout out to Nick Yak in the building. I see you. That's what we got going on, guys. So stay tuned for those names, because one of those guys, if the Knicks do draft, might be the pick. Shout out to Bagger Jones in the building, smarter than your average in the building. What up, Bear? Good to see you. All right, man.
And let Bear know I got Flip. I got Flip. I ain't worried about Foot. Nobody worried about Foot. I used to put buckets on Foot. You kidding me?
Yeah, the Foot was nice though. But all right, okay, John. I like that.
I put numbers on Foot. He knows.
Final words, my brother.
Man, as always, man, it's a pleasure to be here, man. It's a pleasure to be back. Look forward to being here more often. Now my son is no longer on this basketball. AAU is done for the season until, the summer is over. Once fall comes back, he'll be returning. But as of right now, I got my Mondays free. So looking forward to being here on a regular basis. Yeah, man. And to all of y'all, appreciate you all for just tuning in and supporting the show. And, checking out Ron, who've been holding it down for the last few months, man. Much appreciated. So to everybody out there, stay blessed, stay safe, stay healthy. Looking forward to the next one. See you when I see you.
There you go. And Bear said, stop it, John.
Telling you better get him on that court.
Oh man. Anyway, guys,
and I lost 15 pounds. You better watch out.
We talk about slender John. Shout out to L Dammit in the building as well. Pew pew. What's going on, L? Man, so listen, guys, as I always say, tell a friend who tells a friend who tells another friend. Still Knicks fans, we'll be back again, whether it be Monday nights at 9-ish for SKF Weekly with myself, my brother John, and my brother Jose on the ones and twos holding us down. Also, Saturdays for Know the Ledge at 11:30. Do not think you're coming into another 7-hour marathon show. That was a one-off, so it happens, but whatever. And check out the intermediate show. Like it hasn't dropped yet because I'm waiting for a special guest. But you know, the State of the Game show where we can talk about a little bit more things, you know, whether it be the Mets, the Giants, the Knicks, but we also will tackle some serious topics over there. Stay tuned to that. It probably won't be this week because of scheduling, but next week I got a special guest and we're going to be talking about some Giant football. So stay tuned for that. All right. You know, pretty much, listen, you know, it's always a pleasure. I'm really happy to see my brother John and be here with Jose as well, holding it down. La Tres Mascaraditos, we back, baby. So take care. As always, you guys have a great night. No matter what happens, remember this, the ups, the downs, the good and the bad. We are still Knicks fans. Be good, y'all. And if you can't be good at it. We out of here.
New York Knicks. First. Go Knicks.
We can finally, you know, start playing, man. So much talk this whole summer. It's felt like so long because we've had so much to talk about. I mean, at times it was been kind of slow, but we've been talking, right? But we've actually had a really good offseason for this New York Knicks team, and it's been very active. There's been a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, Knicks family, we in the building. I am the Objective Fan from the Objective Knicks Fan channel. And I want to give a big salute to Ron and John from Still Knicks Fans.
What's going on, guys?
Hey, Knicks family, I'm Stephanie, a.k.a. Blood Sweat Tears. We are still Knicks
What's going on, everybody? It's your girl, Lady and the Chef from Two Knicks Chicks Podcast. Still a Knicks fan.
What's good, party people in the place to be? It's your main man.
What's up, everybody? This is Steve Box 21 at Two Knicks Chicks Podcast, and I'm still a Knicks fan.
Yo, this is your boy Sim from Nothing But Knicks. Through all the struggles, through all the heartache and pain, ladies and gentlemen, I am still a Knicks fan.
Peace, y'all. This is Apollo Reed from the Garden Knicks crew. And I don't know about y'all, but I'm still a Knicks fan.
I'm still here. We're still here. Still Knicks fans. It's a fandom. It's a lifestyle.